Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here, and welcome to another review. And after a comment from YouTuber Andrea Wyatt recommending that I take a look at the Amstrad CPC version of Incentive Software's Driller after having seen my Spectrum version review, I decided to take a look at it. So I'm hoping that the controls will be the same as I played on the Spectrum. I'm really hoping so, because it was a bit of a faff trying to figure them out. I mean, I even had access to the instruction manuals and still couldn't really find anything that said what they were. So let's get. Well, first thing I know, obviously the kind of colour that you can see here was not a problem for the Amstrad. It was for the Spectrum because of its attribute limitations. And the first thing I've noticed, another thing I've noticed, it's not quite as fast as the Spectrum version. And I'm not just saying that that because of emulation problems or anything like that. It genuinely isn't quite as quick. I mean, anyone who had the game back in the day, unless they had all the machines to refer to, they wouldn't necessarily know that. Because even back in the day, I was very familiar with the Spectrum version. It sticks out like a sore thumb to me. It's not awful. I'm not going to heavily slate it just because it's a fraction slower than the version that I'm most familiar with, which is the Spectrum version. Now, one thing I'm going to test though is that for some reason it's stuck in my mind that the drilling coordinates to get 100% in the Spectrum version of this in Amethyst is X6400 Y6050 facing north. So I'm actually going to test it to see if it's compatible with this Amstrad version. Just need to reduce my step size. Angle size, we'll put to 90. Right, so that's X6400 now to test 6050, and I have to admit it is looking promising at the moment because of how much I'm aligned with that cross. Right, so I need to reduce my step size a bit. 41, 46, 47, 48, 50. Right, so I've got X6400 Y6050, and I'm facing north, as you can see by the plan bit next to those coordinates near the bottom middle of the screen. So I'm going to place the rig, and if it works as well as on the Spectrum version, this will be 100%. Don't ask me why I can still remember those coordinates after all this time, but yes, it was 100% success. Now I'm going to reduce my angle to 30. I'm also going to go back into there and absorb some of the increase the step size to 250, otherwise it'll be all night. Yeah, this is definitely a smidgen slower than the Spectrum version. I mean, yeah. I'm going to get some of my energy back up because, as I said in the Spectrum version review, placing a drilling rig does consume energy. So those upward pointing triangles restore shield, downward ones restore energy. That's something I forgot to mention in the previous review that I did, the one that I did for the Spectrum. And all I did there was I just about faced. Right, you shoot that. Remember, that was that laser beacon that rotated whenever you shot it. It rotates 90 degrees clockwise each time you shoot it. Not quite sure what that did. See what happens if I shoot the other one. Oh. So one of these causes that lift on the left there to go up, and the other one causes it to go down. Actually, before I do that, I better shoot that one more time, because otherwise that thing's going to see me and pummel me with gunfire. Oh, I have to shoot the actual cone of the laser itself, otherwise it doesn't rotate. Right, that shows that I'm actually standing on top of that platform now. So I need to shoot the leftmost ones of those squares. Not quite sure what these are all about though. I can't shoot them and I can't walk into them. Unless there's something else I have to do later. So, I mean, unless there's something else I have to do to actually, one thing I haven't tried is shooting this upper section of them. Well, that played a sound, but apart from that, ooh. Let's try that again. Oh, God. Right, so can't figure that out at all. Nah. You have to be very careful not to fall off that until you've lowered it, because as I said in the Spectrum review, if you fall too far, it's instant game over. Oh, I'm being shot at. That blooming gun. Oh God, I thought I'd be all right there. I'm going to have to shoot this twice, because actually maybe I'll shoot it a third time as well, just to make doubly sure it can't get to me too easily. In the original version, this is emulated, but in the original version, you could actually save a game at any point, which is particularly good in case you're about to do something risky, and or was at very high risk of falling off. 48% success, that's no good. %, that's good. As I said in the Spectrum review, as long as it's 50% or more success rate, then that's fine. If it's 49% or less, it's no good, and you'll have to reposition the drilling rig. And bear in mind, as I said, placing and removing drilling rigs takes up energy. And you may remember from the Spectrum version that I did that to turn off that rather vicious downward pointing laser beacon above the door of that building that those wires on that pylon were connected to. I remember this. Shoot the block under, and bye bye. Come on. Yeah, I remember I have to shoot that switch. Now, you may remember that when I was doing the Spectrum version, I completely forgot what that switch actually did. It's one of 4 switches. On the other side of that wall is an area called, if I remember correctly, it's an area called Diamond, which is the light side of the moon that we're currently on. And only when you've thrown the switch in all 4 of the areas of the moon surrounding it can you actually access Diamond in any way. And that was just one of the 4 switches. Nope. That door's open. So the controls of it seem to be exactly the same as I remembered from the Spectrum version, which is always a big plus. With an arrow on there. Oh god, this is so slow. And there's oh. So that's not the place to put the drilling rig. So I can't go any further that way. Can't remember what this was all about. I mean, I'm pretty sure that arrow's trying to tell me something, but I can't. I couldn't actually. When I placed a drilling rig by mistake, I couldn't actually. No. I can't really afford to do any more drilling because my energy level at the bottom left corner is getting very low. Oh, hang on, what's this? I can't shoot that by the looks of things, but as I said, this is more colourful than the Spectrum version, but then the Amstrad CPC doesn't have the attribute limitation that the Spectrum does. As I pointed out to other people, the Spectrum has an attribute limitation where each 8 pixel by 8 pixel character square can only contain two colours, one foreground colour and one background colour. If a third or subsequent colour tries to get in on the action, then there'll be some compromise, and one of the 3 colours will change to one of the other 2. How bad it is depends on how well the designed things are. But if it's not done well, the resulting colour clash can be quite unsightly. So that's why so many Spectrum games are in monochrome, because it's by far the simplest way of getting around the attribute problem. There was just no way this game could have been done with colour. It just isn't doable. Running low on energy. I remember it was the right-hand one of these hangars that contains the reconnaissance jet. Oh, I've reduced my step size, no wonder. Be here all night. It is a shame that it's slower than the Spectrum version. Let's go into the jet. Right, I'm in the jet now. So up to taking to the skies we go. In the original version, it actually came with this cardboard model that you could make of the moon, where you could make notes of all 18 areas of the game as and when you discovered things about them, and you could make notes on it. And the wave start amethyst had already been done for you, so you didn't have to worry about that. Right, this is back in amethyst. This is the area where I started. Now what I'm going to try and do is land on that platform on the top of that pillar. Right, I'm looking straight down now, so you can tell I'm looking straight down because of that side view showing that I'm looking straight down. Right, I've got all my shield and energy. Maybe I already did. Lower my height a bit. A door. So that's what that block did. It's obsidian. Oh, someone's shooting at me. Ah, there. you don't, mate. Now you might be wondering what the 17 on that wall is all about. Well, from what I remember, you may remember I mentioned about something called the light side. Well, which is called diamond. Well, there's also a dark side called trashite or trachite. I'm not quite sure how it's pronounced, and not only do you have to have thrown switches in all of the other 3 areas surrounding it, a bit like you had to throw switches in order to access diamond, but in addition to that, you must also have placed all the other 17 drilling rigs and got 50% success or more in each case. Ooh, I'm being shot at. Oh yeah, I remember this. There's actually a back door to this. There we go. Bye bye. And then this is actually a means of getting across this gap when you're in the excavation probe. You can either shoot or knock that down, and it makes a bridge to get across. As you can see, they're just like in the cover art. There's a flame on top of the drilling rigs. There is in the Spectrum version as well. And bear in mind, while I'm in this jet, although it's great to be able to fly around, the limitation is you can't actually lay any drilling rigs because you can only do that if you're in the excavation probe. Oh, it's another of those where I'm in emerald now, so lower my height. I'm a bit high, so I can't really see much. Ooh. Oh, remember, you can't shoot those. There's one of those by absolutely every blasted door. If you're in the excavation probe, as long as you're very close to these guns, you can get by without them shooting you. They've got a fairly limited range on them. Go through this door, I think. remember this. This is from the Spectrum version. This is a swimming pool. Now, I remember that you actually have to place a rig in the bottom of this pool, so you actually have to shoot the water to get it to evaporate. And there you go. And you can see the steps in there, so you can actually get. So you can actually get. So if you're in the excavation probe, you can actually. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the gunfire in this version is if someone's prone to photosensitive seizures, that amount of flashing can trigger an epileptic seizure. The flashing in the Spectrum version is nowhere near as severe as that. So that's Driller for the Amstrad CPC. And in essence, it's the same as the Spectrum version. It's just making better use of the Amstrad's colour capabilities. Although, as I said, the sacrifice is it's not quite as fast as the Spectrum version. It's not awful. It's not awfully slow, but it is noticeably a fraction, a little bit slower than the Spectrum version. And the coordinate layout seems to be exactly the same as in the Spectrum version, so content-wise, save for the colour, it seems to be identical. The sound is obviously that is a really good sound for the laser that you fire, and the sound effects generally everywhere else are okay as well, so can't really complain about that. Gameplay. Well, as I said, in the Spectrum version, there are more than a few controls to get used to, because as well as rotating left and right, you've also walking forwards and backwards, and in some cases even extending your height, extending and lowering your height, particularly if you're in the reconnaissance jet. There are also the things like adjusting the size of your angle, rotation angle, and step size. Obviously, all of this requires lots of different button presses. So this isn't such a plug-in and play type game. So you would have to get used to the controls that are available to you before you could actually start seriously playing. And in some cases, it does take trial and error to find out where exactly you really need to be placing those drilling rigs in each of the 18 stages. This is a demo mode that you're looking at right now, and I know in that it shot that platform on top of that pillar, but you are supposed to land on that platform with the jet. That much I do remember from when I played it back in the day. So if you shoot it, you're denying yourself of the ability to do that. And as I said, there are times, as in the Spectrum version, although it's more pronounced in this, it does slow down more when there's a lot on the screen. Obviously, this is an 8-bit computer, so 3D is quite a challenge, especially as this is, so far as I know, the first game to feature solid 3D graphics. However, because this isn't a game that requires lightning fast reflexes, the or anything like that, and nor does it put you at any more of a disadvantage. And if it had managed to keep up the pace, it doesn't adversely affect the gameplay. It's more of an irritation, a mild irritation than anything else. So you look there, the frame rate's really quite bad there. So I'm going to give Driller for the Amstrad CPC 8 out of 10. In essence, it's the same as Spectrum, just got more colour, as it can do that without having to worry about the colour clash issues that would have affected the Spectrum in that way. And although it does suffer more from a frame rate issue than the Spectrum version, because it doesn't adversely affect the gameplay in any way, nor does it make the puzzles any more or less difficult, I think I'm going to give this version 8 out of 10 as well. So, hope you enjoyed that review. Hope to catch you on another one. Texie88 out.